Hey everyone, just a short little explanation of some technology that we can use to assist kids who are deaf and hard of hearing. Some of this stuff you'll hear in other places in this module, but I would just like to introduce some of this stuff and clarify it hopefully a little for you. First, let's start out with hearing aids. Now, hearing aids come in different types. There are bone conduction hearing aids. There are hearing aids that directly stimulate the eardrum. Um, Several different types. These devices amplify sound, and they can differentially amplify sound in different frequencies. So consequently, these have to be programmed by somebody who's competent to do that, so that they get the right balance of sound representation. As you're going to hear from some of our experts talking about it, one of the most difficult aspects of hearing aids with kids is getting them to wear them. The student really needs hearing aids, shows up to school that day, lo and behold, doesn't have their hearing aids. That creates a real problem. Moving on to cochlear implants. This is a whole different kind of animal. What a cochlear implant does, if you see in the diagram, the user has a transmitter, a microphone essentially, that they wear on the outside of their head. That then is connected to an internal structure that has been implanted surgically, and this takes those sound waves that sound and converts them into electrical impulses, which then go directly into the user's cochlea and stimulate the nerve endings to create a representation of that sound. It's important to understand that it isn't normal sound. It doesn't just recreate normal sound. However, I have seen users who have become very, very proficient in using these to understand speech and, pretty much any other kind of sound. FM systems. The audiologist that you're going to hear talks about FM systems. There are two types of FM systems. In the first type, in this picture here, we have a teacher working in front of a classroom who has a microphone on, and her voice then is sent to a speaker. That cylinder next to her is actually a speaker, and these are strategically placed around the rooms, and essentially they amplify the teacher's voice to a certain extent. Now, for kids that have hearing difficulties, this can be very effective, but it's important to know too that it can help all kids. It can help kids with some attention deficits. May help kids that have, some fluid in their ears a particular day, but it can help more than just that student with the hearing loss. Moving on to another type of FM system. In this picture here, we have the teacher speaking into a microphone, which is sending that signal to the individual that's hard of hearing. However, in this case, that teacher is sending this signal to a little device that's attached to the individual's either their hearing aid or cochlear implant, so it can go directly to that hearing aid or cochlear implant. They show kind of a large device that the person is wearing, but it need not be that big. It can be just a very small little device attached to their hearing aid. I'm sure that most of you are familiar with closed captioning, um, and it's just important for everyone to remember that there's a lot of videos, things out there that do offer captioning along with them. So it's important that you take a look at those things. Um, an example of this is at Columbus State. We're now starting to introduce captioning into all of the videos produced for the online courses. Unfortunately, at the present time, because of so many people going online because of COVID, there is kind of a backlog, so you're not going to see all of the videos captioned, but that's coming. An important thing to know about captioning is that you can either have captions provided by people, or you can have captions automatically generated via software. At the present time, the people generated stuff is still much, much superior to that produced with the software generated. And software generated definitely takes a whole lot of editing to get it exactly right. Here's another system. This is the CART system. It's a pretty easy concept. In our picture here, the person is speaking. That speech is going to a typist who is typing in basically everything that the speaker says. And this goes back to the speaker, and this is then projected up onto a screen so that the person with hearing loss can follow along what the speaker is saying. Now, it's important to know that this service could be made available, that person that is doing the typing, the transcribing, could be right there in the room. However, it's just as possible that that person could be in some kind of a remote location. And I've seen it used very effectively that way. Um, and we've had some um, uh, banquets, things like that, where we had a speaker. That speaker's voice then was just transmitted, to a person that could be hundreds of miles away, and that transcription shows up immediately on the screen, so it can be very effective. It's very accurate too. Um, there is stuff out there that is software based. And even though there is some accuracy on it, we have yet to see anything that is really, really very accurate um, for our students. The next thing that I want to talk about is Sorensen relays. And the Sorensen relay can really take two forms for a person that's deaf or hard of hearing. First of all, if you take a look at your phone bill sometime, you're going to see a universal access fee. Um, that's the money that helps um, fund the Sorensen company and enables them to provide this service free for its users. So if we had two individuals who were deaf and wanting to make a phone call to one another, they could make just a video call to one another via the relay and just sign to one another. However, um, if a person that is deaf wants to call a person who is hearing, they can do that via an interpreter, and that's what you see in this um, in this diagram here. We have the on the left the person who is deaf. She has a video connection to an interpreter. That interpreter then is interpreting that information and then speaking to that person on the other side of making the phone call to the hearing person. It takes a little bit of getting used to be a hearing person and to make a call like this. You have to understand that the interpreter's voice is that deaf person's voice, and you're speaking to that person just like you are speaking to the person who is actually making the call. So you're not saying something like, tell her that I said, that kind of thing. No, you're speaking to that person just like you're making a regular phone call. Finally, smart boards and tablets, and we're starting to see those used a whole lot more. Um, in one of our examples in this module, we talk about the students who are deaf having lessons given to them. And on the left side there, just a representation of an interpreter who is assisting a student with some homework. And instead of actually taking notes or handwritten notes, or maybe in addition to handwritten notes, there is also a signed part of it. Finally, um, smartboards are starting to have a lot of functionality of being able to capture what that teacher is saying, maybe providing uh, a some lecture notes, something like that. So we're starting to see that used a whole lot more. Um, so this is just a few basic things. I hope you enjoy the rest of the module.